so that we can start the conference. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if I can ask you to take your seats. Looks like we're about ready to start our journey and push back. My name is Steve Creamer. I'm the director of the ICAO Air Navigation Bureau, and I'll be your guide for the morning. Before we start walking through the event, some important information is necessary to share. This is a non-smoking environment. And please keep your cell phones in the silent mode, or preferably even turned off when in this room, but in the digital age, that's virtually impossible to do. In case of a fire alarm, please follow our staff who will guide you to the exit doors and to a safe point outside of the facility. There is an event application which is available through either the iOS Apple App Store or the Google Play for those with smartphones. And you should see the logo on the screen, which you can look for to confirm you're getting the right version of the application. And download it, and it will have updates as well as websites available. Also, for today's proceedings, please refer to the Order of Business version 1. And I wish now to give the floor to the President of the ICAO Council, who will officially open the conference, Dr. Benard Aliu of the state of Nigeria. Dr. Aliu?
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this 13th Air Navigation Conference with a theme from development to implementation. Aviation today is on the brink of some major transformations. This is reflected in the fantastic growth in aircraft, passenger, and cargo traffic volumes that are poised to more than double by 2035. The increasing deployment of drone technology, the launch of autonomous suborbital and supersonic activities, as well as other innovations such as artificial intelligence and blockchain technologies. Throughout our global aviation network and our ICAO member states, a tremendous modernization will take place over the years ahead. We will see the adoption of new technology and the implementation of new infrastructure in order to accommodate air navigation capacity and efficiency challenges. Accordingly, our goal for the next 2 weeks is to define our collective vision of a safe, interoperable, seamless, and global civil air traffic management system for the 21st century. As some of you will recall, the Air Navigation System modernization process began with the 10th Air Navigation Conference in 1991. At that time, our sector agreed to evolve itself from a ground-based to a largely satellite-based air navigation system. Subsequently, at the 11th Air Navigation Conference in 2003, we endorsed a global air traffic management operational concept and developed a related work program. The 12th and most recent Air Navigation Conference in 2012 then introduced the Aviation System Block Upgrades, or ASBU framework. This was established to help guide sectoral harmonization and interoperability and to align regional and national implementation initiatives while delivering some much-needed investment certainty for state and industry partners. This 13th Air Navigation Conference was preceded by the second Global Air Navigation Industry Symposium, or GANIS II, and the Safety and Air Navigation Implementation Symposium, SANIS, held back-to-back in 2017. The main purposes of these GANIS and SANIS events were to gather advanced industry viewpoints on the evolution of global air navigation system and to develop insights into any new or existing implementation challenges respective of ICAO's proposed updates to our Global Air Navigation Plan, the GAM, and the Global Aviation Safety Plan, GASP. For many years following the 1991 Air Navigation Conference, the goal of our community has been to realize what was referred to as the future air navigation system. Well, that future is now, ladies and gentlemen. And our air traffic management and operations no longer have the luxury of time to adapt to and to meet its challenges. Through the ASBUs and the consensus-based targets and objectives set out in the GAM and GASP, ICAO has provided the tools you need to accelerate this transition and to realize the performance capabilities which will keep our sector vital, efficient, and fully responsive to the needs and expectations of modern businesses and societies. At the regional level, this will be supported by the planning and implementation regional groups, the PROGs, and regional aviation safety groups, RASC, will help to guarantee the alignment of procedures and interoperability of systems. A great deal of this progress can be achieved through better management and use of the sectoral performance data and our overarching concepts in terms of system-wide information management and collaborative decision-making are now guiding this process. And as we adjust to drones or new types of operations above flight level 600, we should not only remain ever focused on the safety and efficiency performance, which are the key value offering of air transport, but also be vigilant regarding potential threats to the increasingly connected systems supporting contemporary operations. During the conference, you will therefore be evaluating some new proposals to define and address these challenges in a way that engages every stakeholder in the aviation industry notably through the creation of a new digital global trust framework. This framework has been designed to build upon your existing certification and licensing oversight commitments enshrined in the Chicago Convention, and to enable the interoperable evolution of these new and connected systems. Regarding the evolution of the Universal Safety Oversight Audit Program Continuous Monitoring Approach, USOP CMA, some additional adjustments are on the agenda of the conference. I'm pleased to acknowledge that after nearly 2 decades of these audit activities, ICAO has recorded significant improvements in effective implementation of global standards and recommended practices, SAPs, in many member states, particularly since the introduction of our No Country Left Behind initiative. Nevertheless, many states also continue to struggle in complying with the SAPs due to shortfalls in their resources and technical capacities. To address this, ICAO has been promoting regional mechanisms, including the establishment of collaborative regional safety oversight organizations, RSOs. However, many of the established RSOs are yet to be as effective as they should in strengthening the safety oversight capabilities of their component countries. There are many factors and challenges, including varying degrees of delegated responsibility, lack of expertise, and resources that are preventing the RSOs from attaining their full potentials. These persistent concerns were discussed at length at the RSO Forum, which ICAO and IASA convened together in Swaziland, now Eswatini, in 2017. It eventually endorsed that ICAO will pursue a new global aviation safety oversight system, or GASUS, that is focused on streamlining ICAO's engagement and as support to RSOs to enable them effectively discharge their mandates to their constituent states. The initial concept and associated action plan were globally endorsed by the DGCA meetings in 2017, and we are looking forward to you for the refinement of the program and in due course, its presentation to the 40th Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, the outcome of your work during the next 2 weeks will enable ICAO to refine its work program and pursue the standardization so urgently needed at this time to help our sector adapt and evolve. Bear in mind as well that our discussion and endorsement here will help prepare us for efficient deliberations during the 40th ICAO Assembly in 2019. Accordingly, with the vast majority of the technical topics that we have been discussed and agreed to during the next 2 weeks, the Assembly's Technical Commission will be able to occupy itself on a more detailed basis with the adoption of the new GAMP, GASP, and their supporting work programs, as well as any urgent issues which may arise in the interim. I am convinced that this approach will tremendously improve the overall efficiency of ICAO with respect to its core air navigation responsibilities to the world. I would also like to take a moment to recognize and thank the military community for its presence with us here and for its interest to work together with civilian authorities to improve the air navigation system as a whole. Effective civil-military collaboration and cooperation remains essential to our goal of guaranteeing the safety and efficiency of all flights and of addressing together the challenges of modernizing the air navigation system for all airspace users. Before concluding today, I would like to turn your attention to the last Council Outside Strategy meeting, or COSM, held in June 2018, at which the ICAO Council took time to focus on aviation of the future and on how ICAO can better lead our sector in responding dynamically and effectively to the exponential changes and pace of innovation that we are witnessing and are anticipating in the decades to come. The COSM particularly emphasized the challenges and opportunities associated with the emergence of the commercial space sector. In this regard, I believe that it is time for the organization to take the bold steps to position itself as the leader in global standardization in this domain. And by doing this in a non-competitive but collaborative manner with our member states, we can set the template for addressing other emerging challenges. The offsite meeting also emphasized the need to invest in and develop the next generation aviation professionals who will be responsible for ensuring a safe, interoperable, seamless, and global civil air traffic management system in the decades ahead of us. The ICAO Next Generation of Aviation Professionals Program plays an important coordinating role in the implementation of strategies to address associated challenges. And I have further proposed an aviation thematic competition among teenagers at national, regional, and global levels as a means to stimulate their interest to pursue careers in aviation. Dear colleagues, at this time, I wish to acknowledge the dedication, high degree of professionalism, and commitment of civil aviation professionals to their roles in aviation safety. Just recently, this commitment was very poignantly demonstrated by Mr. Antonius Gunawan Angong, an air traffic controller at Mutiara Sis Al Jufri Airport in Palu, Indonesia. During the recent earthquake and tsunamis, Antonius delayed evacuating the air traffic control tower until the safety of a departing aircraft was assured. As a direct consequence of this selfless heroism, he later died from the injuries he sustained. Antonius' fervent commitment to aviation safety serves as an example to us all, as individuals, organizations, and states. In this regard, we should all acknowledge the delegation of Indonesia here with us today and extend our most heartfelt condolences to his family and those adversely affected by this tragic event. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, the ICAO Council, in support of the No Country Left Behind initiative, awards the Council President's Certificate every year to recognize states from each ICAO region which have made significant progress in resolving their safety oversight deficiencies and improving the effective implementation of ICAO SAPs as measured through our USOP CMA activities in the preceding year. It's been my great pleasure to present the 2018 Council President Certificates directly to some recipient states that have had the privilege to visit this year. However, as officials from a number of our recipient states this year are present with us today, I thought it beneficial to celebrate their achievements at this conference. I will now ask Mr. Stephen Creamer, the Director of the Air Navigation Bureau, to invite those recipient states to accept their certificates. Stephen, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. As your state's name is called, we therefore appreciate if a designated official joins us on stage to receive the state certificate. We have 7 states to celebrate in this context today, and I would please ask a representative first from Bangladesh to be the first to come and collect the state award. Thank you, Bangladesh. Come in. Thank you, Bangladesh. Our next recipient state is Burkina Faso. Thank you, Burkina Faso. Our next recipient state is Finland. Thank you, Finland. Our next recipient state is Jordan. Thank you, Jordan. Our next state is Kuwait. The walk to the podium is not as long as the walk to raising effective implementation levels. Thank you, Kuwait. And the next state is Portugal. Please be our next recipient. Portugal. Thank you, Portugal. And finally, the eighth state today, the United Republic of Tanzania. Please be our next and final recipient. That's right. You have to cue that. He's not ready. Thank you. Mr. President?
Thank you, sir. Wow. Well, congratulations to the recipient delegations, and thank you, everyone, for your patience and kind applause for these noteworthy accomplishments. Can you give them another round of applause, please? Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I now declare open this 13th ICAO Air Navigation Conference, and I wish to invite the President of the ICAO Air Navigation Commission, Mr. Claude Hurley, to elaborate further on our challenging agenda for the conference. I wish you all a very successful conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Aliu. Good morning as well to Dr. Liu, Madam Secretary General, Excellencies of the ICAO Council, fellow commissioners, members of the Secretariat, and you, our distinguished participants at this ICAO's 13th Air Navigation Conference. There's more than 1,000 of you occupying key roles in the states we serve and with our aviation industry stakeholders. More than 1,000 of you who chose to be here today at this conference. Considering that it's 15 degrees warmer this morning than it was yesterday, I'm surprised that not more of you skipped my speech to instead go explore Montreal during this brief return to summer weather. But joking aside, I truly feel blessed to be in the same room as you, in this, the ICAO Assembly Hall, a room full of gravitas and hope, as we embark together throughout the exchange of ideas and constructive debate on the difficult but necessary task of setting priorities and identifying key objectives for aviation safety and navigation ahead of next year's ICAO Assembly. What I'd like to share with you are some thoughts about how thrilled I am about all of you being here today and how the choices you'll make over the next 2 weeks will set the direction for how we'll tackle together the challenges of implementation. But before I do, it might be worthwhile to explain that what you heard me say just now was a traditional ICAO format, or protocol if you like, for speaking up in formal meetings, whether it's in the Commission, the Council, or even the Assembly. For me, I use the words thanks, hello, welcome, topic, as a brief reminder of what the protocol is, but rest assured that while it's not needed in this setting, this week or next, I only bring it up today, as I had the occasion lately to reflect that as a pilot coming in from the cold, so to speak, it was January when I arrived, it took me almost a year to find my voice in these formal meetings. And yet, for all of us to find our voice and to speak up with our opinions, whether we're from industry or states, is perhaps the key to ICAO getting early feedback on any proposals so that we together can build a shared situational awareness of any potential implementation challenges, and for us then to build consensus on how best to tackle these challenges together. As you well know, it's not for lack of good intentions that things don't always work out. Some years ago, I was managing a startup flight operations overseas, and one day, we received in the weekly and much anticipated delivery of aircraft parts something beautifully crafted in aircraft aluminum and brightly painted in company colors. It was not, however, an extra aircraft part, but a large bulletin board intended as a new company-wide standard for safety-critical information. A bulletin board to the standard. It's a nice touch, right? And of course, being at ICAO, you'll understand, and I'm a big believer in both safety and standardization. But there were some implementation challenges which I'm a little embarrassed to share with you. All I thought I had to do was download the safety bulletins and attach them to the bulletin board. A 5-minute task in an otherwise busy flight day. However, being on spotty dial-up internet, if you can remember how slow that was, it took forever to download the graphic-heavy safety bulletins, only to discover that these pre-designed safety posters had been formatted for 8.5 by 11-inch paper, the common format here in North America. It won't be a surprise to you that the only paper we could source locally, A4, met that other much more prevalent world standard of ISO 216. As well, this beautifully crafted aluminum safety board had been installed with, and you can probably guess where I'm going with this by now, not with the much more common international two-hole spacing standard, ISO 838 standard of 80 millimeters for those who appreciate that level of detail, but with the unique North American spacing of 70 millimeters. Yes, it's maybe only a paper saga, but sadly, with no compatible paper or two-hole punch locally, we had some implementation challenges if we were to live up to the company standard for the effective distribution of safety information. I only bring this up as an amusing story, and I purposely stayed away from the many real aviation challenges we've all surely lived. For those, And for practical suggestions as to the real-world challenges of SMS implementation, I do want to point you towards the excellent ICAO Safety Management Implementation website put together by our Secretariat, and which provides examples, tools, and supporting educational material which you'll surely find very useful. The point of my story, though, is that even the most simple of initiatives, however well-intentioned, can come with unexpected obstacles to full implementation if we are not fully aware of the realities in the field. This theme of from development to implementation will inform all of our discussions during this ICAO's 13th Air Navigation Conference. Essentially, we hope to leverage your expertise of what the difficulties are outside these walls, so that the proposals being developed by ICAO are based on a deeper understanding of the realities for you as states and industries, so that we together can not only build a shared situational awareness of the problems themselves, but hopefully, at the end of these 2 weeks, a consensus on the best paths to success going forward. In 2017, over 4 billion passengers safely took to the skies. Over 4 billion. If you're jet lagged and still up late tonight, you might reflect on the fact that before the clock strikes midnight tonight, like any typical October Tuesday, 12 million passengers will fly. Today, 12 million, on over 120,000 flights to close to 4,000 airports, watched over safely by 170 air navigation service providers. These flights will also carry over $20 billion worth of goods. Well, 20 billion Canadian dollars, if that makes a difference, but you get the point. That's only in one day. By the end of this conference, close to 150 million people and some pets will have flown, many for the first time. By 2030, forecasts are predicting that this traffic globally will double, and with some regions, such as perhaps China, this traffic will triple. With some states already experiencing 10% annual growth, new commercial aircraft are being added to the registry at a never-before-seen rate. As well, not only is traditional traffic increasing at an unprecedented pace, but we are also seeing the rapid growth of new entrants into the air navigation system. Technological innovations in unmanned aircraft systems, supersonic aircraft, operations above flight level 600, and commercial space flights, to name but a few emerging sectors, will create wonderful new opportunities for the next generation of aviation professionals and the traveling public they serve, but will also bring with it significant challenges as we together look for ways to safely integrate this new traffic into ever more congested airspace. This may result in the need for fundamental changes in how things are done. And as the President of the Council, Dr. Aliu, eloquently underlined, these changes can successfully be managed, and the solutions can be globally harmonized. This is the work before us. The international civil aviation community has successfully tackled significant change management challenges before. For example, the evolution from a ground-based system of air traffic control to a satellite-based system of air traffic management is already bringing clear benefits. Many of you likely flew transpolar routes coming into Montreal. They're long flights, eh? And by a show of hands, please, were these flights maybe even long enough for you to read all 300 working papers being presented here this week? Sure, I believe you. I really do, but for the sake of my story, let's say that your readings were already done weeks ago, that you could not sleep on the long flight over, and you were looking for a distraction as you awaited the next delicacy to come from the in-flight galley. If by chance you are not catching up with what Tom Cruise was doing in sequel number 6 to the original and best, Mission Impossible, if instead you watched the moving map at any point during the 4 or 5 hours it took you to cross the Arctic and transit back into inhabited territory, you may have reflected on Canada's vast geography, much of which is not served by traditional ground-based, limited-range nav aids like VORs and NDBs. As a younger man, which was not as long ago as my looks might suggest, I flew search and rescue in Canada's Air Force. Search and rescues, by their very nature, aren't usually conveniently located below an airway. Funny that. And it won't come as a surprise to any of you that IFR was somewhat unreliable for precise navigation off airways up north before the age of GPS. Flying rescue missions up north was our own version of Mission Impossible. As for us, often IFR meant I follow roads, I follow railroads, and when the map ran out of those as we flew further north, IFR became I follow rivers. I joke, I really do, but the limitations of dead reckoning over long distances in northern Canada with few landmarks were such that even when Omega, a VLF band radio beacon system, was introduced, knowing where we were to plus or minus 15 miles in the frozen, featureless tundra was a marked improvement. Later, we were equipped with Lorentz C, which improved navigation precision dramatically near the coast, but much less so in the north. In practice, to successfully accomplish a SAR mission in northern Canada in the early 90s meant that helicopter crews needed the occasional radio fixes from military patrol aircraft providing top cover, as they were equipped with inertial navigation systems and multiple dedicated navigators. The alternative was to fly on clear nights and rely, like seafarers of old, on the constellations of Cassiopeia and Ursa Major to point to the North Star. Sadly, while I'm sure that many of you can still navigate by the stars, the only time it might come in useful for you this week would be for you to find your way back to your hotel after a late reception, should your phone's map app not have figured out the ever-changing construction detours in Montreal. The point is that we got the rescues done. Those that could be saved were, but nowadays, with the advent of reliable positioning data, available to anyone with a GNSS receiver, being lost off airways is no longer a thing. And the decisions that enable the widespread use of satellite-based systems for navigation and air traffic management were made here and in the world's capitals by our predecessors, something we, as a community, can be very proud of. This last July, the Air Navigation Commission had the rare opportunity to do a study trip to the ICAO South America region, including wonderfully instructive stops in both Peru and Colombia. We were impressed by how states in the region, such as Peru and Colombia, are successfully managing significant growth in traffic. As one example, the use of performance-based navigation, or PBN approaches to thread traffic into the difficult terrain surrounding the high-altitude airport at Cusco has enabled lower minima approaches and longer operating hours, which in turn helps the Cusco airport manage increased traffic demand. Similarly, in technical discussions I've had with states in the ICAO Asia-Pacific region, I was struck by the many examples of how the standards and recommended practices, or SARPs as we call them here, that we discuss here, are being put to good use and successfully implemented. One example is how Malaysian industry stakeholders work collaboratively with a state regulator to implement required navigation performance, authorization required, or RNPAR, approaches across Malaysia's major airports, which not only enabled better traffic flow and shorter leg times, but literally saves tons of fuel and brings with it significant environmental benefits. The point being that the decisions you'll make here over the next 2 weeks can and surely will bring measurable improvements in aviation safety, efficiency, capacity, security in the environment, all the while managing risks in a globally harmonized way. Having had a chance to read those 300 working papers you've brought to the table, I applaud you for the efforts you've already made to prepare for this conference. You are the leaders that will decide on and enables us all to manage together how best to adapt to not only massive increases in traditional traffic, but also allowing new entrants with the benefits that these new technologies bring into a shared airspace. So let's go far. Let's go far together. Your work over the next 2 weeks will be consolidated into reports by the dedicated and talented professionals in the ICAO Secretariat. The results of your deliberations will be presented to the Air Navigation Commission so that we, in our own roles as technical advisors to the ICAO Council, can best help advise on the organization's agenda for next year's assembly. It's perhaps then a good time to ask my fellow commissioners to stand, if you please, so that I can introduce you to the Air Navigation Commission, your Air Navigation Commission. Let's give them a round of applause. As per Article 56 of the Chicago Convention, the Air Navigation Commission is composed of 19 members appointed by the Council from among persons nominated by you, contracting states. Article 56 goes on to say we are to have suitable qualifications and experience in the science and practice of aeronautics. And if I were to list the many impressive skills and varied professional experiences of my learned colleagues, I'd not only go over my allotted time at the podium, but I'd also have to make the remark that occasionally exceptions are made, a pilot or two slips in, and even those of us with a fondness for helicopters. So there are 2 points worth highlighting about the Commission's role, as per the Convention. The first of which is that while we are nominated by states, you'll see that if you come visit the ANC chamber while you're here, which you're more than welcome to, that we don't sit behind our flag, but behind our individual names, representing therefore not only our own individual expertise, but most importantly, the interest of all of you, all 192 contracting states. The other point is that we don't work alone. There is a vibrant and active ANC community made up first of all by panel members who devote countless hours working hand in hand with the Secretariat to bring proposals to the table. As well, in the chamber itself, we are blessed with having dedicated, erudite, and eloquent observers from states and industry, such as those from accredited international organizations like our good friends in AOPA, IATA, ACI, CANSO, IFATCA, IFALPA, IBAC, and ICCAIA. Also that we don't discuss proposals for standards and recommended practices in isolation, without the benefit of fully understanding the impact on you, our stakeholders, and any resulting implementation challenges. Throughout, we are supported by the professionals in the Secretariat who make it their life's work to ensure that we ourselves fully understand the background and the many nuances to what's being proposed. We are truly blessed, so let's go far together. As such, I'm thrilled that you're all here, especially in this lovely weather, as your presence demonstrates the commitment you, your organizations, and your states have for this work. As a final thought, it should be noted that this conference is an essential element in reaching out to you ahead of next year's assembly, to find ways that we can build a shared situational awareness of the challenges and opportunities ahead, and how best to prioritize our limited resources so as to build a better future together for aviation, for our traveling public. And with that, thank you again for being here. Happy landings.
Ladies and gentlemen, the conference is conducted per the directives found in ICAO document 8143, the divisional level directives for air navigation meetings, which can be found under the conference website on the reference documents section. The document outlines the credentials required to participate in the conference. The secretary of the meeting shall seek from the plenary committee a ruling regarding the acceptability of any credentials, the validity of which may be in doubt, or the participation of any person whose credentials have not been deposited. As of this morning, a list of participants was provided, which I would like to highlight includes 110 member state delegations, 32 international organizations, over 972 external participants, as well as over 300 participants from the delegations represented at ICAO and from the Secretariat itself. So with that little bit of statistical information, Mr. President, I hand the microphone to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Creamer. Your colleagues, the next item on the agenda for today is the adoption of the agenda. AN-Conf 13 working paper 1, you already have in your folders. Any comments with respect to the agenda? Okay, very good. We'll start. I see none. So I declare that the agenda is adopted. Now I think this is 10 minutes to 11. Let me address the Secretariat. You want us to proceed on coffee break now, or maybe we'll proceed to the election of the chairpersons?
We could proceed to the election if we have everybody here. We have some folks who may not be in the room. So, see if I have. Give it a try. We can give it a try. The United States is missing. So they were the number one delegation.
Okay, we can. Okay, let me hand over the mic to Mr. Creamer, and then we'll arrange how we do it. We are running ahead of time, which is a good thing, because we have a lot of work to do. So we'll make the best use of the time. Mr. Creamer, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. We are running a little early, but that will allow us to start promptly at 11:30 when we come back from the break. So we have a coffee break sponsored by Indonesia. It will be served in the foyer outside of the conference facility on the 4th floor. There are multiple stations, so we'll ask you to spread out. You don't need to queue in the longest line. It is forbidden to smoke in the building, so if anyone needs to smoke, you'll need to depart the building to do that. Remember, you have to go through security screening, so take your identification and be prepared to take time for that if you should leave. We will reconvene sharply at 11:30. Thank you very much.